I don't think it's any secret at this point, but most businesses do not make it. The statistical numbers are, if 100 businesses were to start today, in 5 years' time, only 10% would be around.
Mm.
And in 5 years after that, only 10% of that would be around. So you end up with extremely small percentages of businesses that succeed. And we're going to be discussing that today, the reasons why. It's not because they didn't know how to do business or the market was tough. It was because there was things that they didn't know, didn't think to do, weren't aware of, didn't have guidance. And we're going to be touching on all those key elements today that will hopefully, if your business is heading that direction, and business owners, you can feel it. If things aren't going right, how long can you afford this to happen before the door is shut or before it grinds out and you just can't go any farther? Or you start something new, right? Like innately that there's things that aren't optimized, and some of these things can tank you, right? And that's the whole purpose of what we're doing, is to help avoid that. So yeah, we're going to jump into that today. And yeah, we got 3 points. Listen into these, take them to heart. If you can, I'm talking to myself, lower the ego. What can you hear that you've already heard and that you already know, but maybe aren't doing? Right. And where can you really try to peel back the onion layer, take the time, go slow to go fast, and implement these things into your business today, immediately, small steps that will make a huge impact in the quality of your life and emotions and feelings and health. Because this matters. How your business runs. If it's not doing well, you know what that stress does to you in your life. It's not good. We don't want to live like that. So this will hopefully prevent that from happening. So yeah, let's dig in.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree with you more. We definitely live in a time where running a business has never been more challenging, right? The economy is unpredictable, competition is fierce, and the noise is louder than ever. Social media, marketing, billboards, different opportunities, different ideas. And on top of that, everyone has got an opinion on what you should be doing. Your mom, your dad, your brother, your business partner, your family, your friend, your employees. They point you all in these different directions. But when you look at the actual landscape of business ownership from coachees that I've coached, I see the same mistakes being made over and over, and it's costing people their businesses. It's costing them setbacks. It's costing them heartache, frustration, and on that hamster wheel. And one of the things that I've realized is that it's a mindset problem. We need a mindset shift. And let me break this down in the way I look at it, and kind of looking at myself in the mirror over the years, is that too many business owners, at one point, myself included, I was stuck in survival mode. I was just doing the same thing and expecting these different results. And I needed to change my mindset. And so when I was focusing on the daily grind, I couldn't see the bigger picture. I never, like you said earlier, I couldn't slow down enough to go fast. And so when I started looking at things and peeling back the onion, like you said, is I started realizing, oh, I'm focusing my mindset, my energy, time, and effort on the wrong things. And so once I started being intentional about what it is that I need to start working on, then I could actually take action steps. And like you said, the three different areas that I've seen coachees that I've coached and business owners over the years struggle in are neglecting your team, which comes down to leadership, failing to innovate, and the third one is ignoring your numbers. And so we're going to provide solutions as we go along in the episode. And let's break 3 of those down. You got anything to add to that before we jump into neglecting your team?
No, man, I think it starts there because you can't expand your business unless you're a one-man show, which that's not really available for most people. You're going to the foundation is your team. That's where you start, and maybe that's the only other thing I'd say before that is you need to get you a team if you don't have one and expand that out. Right, that would be obviously a priority. But once you have that or you're beginning those phases, then honing in on this. There's nothing else. The people that you have are your business, right? They are. I heard something the other day. At no point is a leader ever responsible for the results. The leader is responsible for the people that get the results. And I was like, man, that's the
That's
truth.
gold.
Leaders don't get
Yes.
results. They can't. They got too much going on. They can't pick up the phone and make a sales call, right? Like the
Yeah.
result of a business is to produce revenue. Otherwise, there is no business. And to bring value, right? It's an exchange of value for the revenue that comes in. But the leader can't make those results happen individually. Maybe at the beginning, they have to wear all the hats. But once you have people involved, results is not there. There's nothing they can do about that. All they can do is inspire, motivate, lead their people. So yeah, I think neglecting their team is an emergency. Like if you're not honing in meticulously on this, then you would be a candidate for your business being one of the 99% that don't succeed, can't last. So yeah, I think this is a vital point.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest mistakes. I made this mistake early in my entrepreneur and business journey is neglecting the team. And so the way I look at it now is becoming coming from it from a standpoint of servant leadership. Like, how can I serve my team? How can I serve each member and personalize it for them to get there, not only where they personally want to go, but helping them achieve their goals professionally as well. And so I find it that from coaches and people that over the years is too often that owners are treating their employees like cogs in a machine, right?
Mm.
Your hamster, they're dictating, they're pointing the finger rather than crucial partners, looking at them like equal partners, taking true ownership in the responsibilities, the tasks, the roles that they're in. And so one of the things that I've learned, Ewan, as far as a solution for somebody listening to this, like, okay, neglecting your team, what are some action steps? What is a solution to this? Like you said earlier, start investing that time, energy, and effort into your team. When we say working on your business and not in your business, that's what that means. When you are intentional about working on your business, you are designating, you are being intentional about it every single day on what can I do today to serve this team member? What can I do today to serve this team member? Whether it's words of affirmations, giving them a shout out on social media, telling them happy birthday and sending them flowers, or whether that's having a one-on-one coaching call with them to help them overcome obstacles and challenges and struggles. Whatever it may be, start investing today in your team. This can be from just letting you know, hey, what can I do to serve you? What can I do to help you? Maybe it's not you. Maybe in what a lot of times that I do is I'll leverage webinars. I'll leverage other additional resources or people on my team. I'll say, hey, this guy, I'll connect the dots, right? Or this person is probably going to be a better fit for this type of training. So I'll connect the dots with them. And one of the things that I've also learned and taken away from the biggest mistake that I have made over the last 10 years is not, I realized once the business was becoming stagnant or once it was becoming just that contraction phase, Ewan, I realized, oh, it's because my team isn't growing.
Mm.
I'm not growing. So
Yeah.
then the solution was, okay, I needed to start taking the time to understand not only my strengths, but their strengths as well to provide the tools that they needed that aligned with the vision and the mission. And so when you do this and you look at and you pull back the layers, the team starts feeling valued. And then they go the extra mile. And that's
Yeah.
when you start seeing results, growth in the business over time will thrive.
And I think you'll find joy
Mm-hmm.
because when you're in that state, that mode where, and you said something there where you take the time to figure out what did you need to do with them. Within that, if someone, a business owner was listening and they're like, well, what do I do? How do I change my personality? It's not about changing personality. It's about the intention. I think it's just a simple intention shift from my intention is to get results through these people as cogs in a machine versus the intention of focusing on them as human beings and what can I do to support them to be able to do the best that they can in all areas of their life too, right? They're not just
Yes.
there for your business. They're
Right.
not just your pawn. They are human beings who have lives. They have wives, children, hobbies. They have loves and things that they have to pursue. That's their life, right? And if your intention is to lift them up in that area, right, they're going to have your back in the business. And so, yeah, I think just a simple intention, like when I hear like your intention completely shifted and
Yes.
all ships rose after that.
Yeah, 100%. So the second one that I have found to be one of the biggest struggles or mistakes is failing to innovate. And so one of the things that I've learned in this journey is running the same business when we opened up in 2015, which was 9 years ago. If you're listening to this, September in 2024, is not the same as we were running it today, right? The market is changing and the economy is changing. The way, sales, like 8 years ago, it was just like Grant Cardone, 10x sales, 15 no's. Now, if you try to get 15 no's, like the customer's just going right down the street.
Yeah, yeah.
So people are changing. The market, the consumers are changing, and so basically, if you're not adapting, then you're, as a business or even as a leader, you're falling behind. And so one of the solutions that I have learned along my journey is to constantly reflect on a weekly. I do it on a weekly basis every Sunday in my different areas of life, and I evaluate the processes and the products and the services that the businesses offer. And so one of the things I'm like, okay, what's working? What's not working? What do we need to tweak? What do we need to adjust? And so by asking myself these questions, it allows me to slow down, to go fast, and make pivots or adjustments that are aligned with the test of time and where we are in this day and age. And
What would you say
so
is some of the biggest innovations that
what's
you've
that?
made? Like some of the, like they were just spot on. Like those were the big needle movers.
You broke up a little bit. You didn't say it again.
Just what were some of the biggest innovations that you implemented that you saw some of the biggest results on?
The biggest one for me was definitely the way, the things that I spent the time, energy, and effort on selling. Meaning, what conversations was I having as a leader about our products, services, and what we were doing on a daily basis? Was I coming from a place of the systems, the processes? Could we do it here better? Did we answer it on the second phone call?
Mm,
When we received that email, did we send it out in 24 hours or did we wait 72 hours? So I wasn't necessarily focusing on that, even though that was all important on how to do things better. But to answer your question, for me, it was making sure that I was asking the right questions, talking about the right things, making
mm,
sure that our new business retention and everything in between, which is the systems, processes, and people, were aligned with our vision. So that was been the biggest shift that's over, because I'm changing as a human being, as a leader. My team members are changing as human beings. So that, to me, if you don't innovate, if you don't with those human beings as a leader, then it's only a matter of time before you fall behind, right?
mm.
Personally and professionally in your business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it really does, man. And again, that's like a intention and mindset, which it all comes down to being. That's what leaders do, right? They have to make those calls. You can't just sit with what has been,
Yeah.
as much as we might want to, because that's familiar. And but when it stops working, when it's not working, you got to move. You got to do something. And I think, yeah, that's a key skill.
Yeah. And things are going to change. Software is going to change, right? And to me, that's all micro, and that's
Hmm.
all systems and processes. Things are going to, there's going to be new software is going to come out. There's going to be new social media outlets that are going to come out. And so, we could dive deep and do a complete new episode on that, right? If you're a business owner and you're listening to this and you're doing business through direct mail and spending all this money, thousands of dollars on direct mail versus spending it on, branding on social media or telling a story on your website, or, just in these different areas that allow you to gather so much more leads and data, newsletters, stuff like that. So these are the things that I didn't do or understand early in my professional journey. And so I think when I hear failure to innovate, you have to, things are always changing so fast. And so what worked for you 8 years ago, what worked for us 8 years ago may not be working today. So you better be ready to pivot, as
Yeah.
far as systems and processes. So I think that's a key component. A, a third one here, last but not least, is ignoring your numbers. So, what kind of episode or podcast would it be if we didn't talk about financial cash flow, positive balance sheet, P&L? And so, one
Do
of the
you see a lot
things
of
that
that, Sean? Real quick,
what's
do you
that?
see a lot of that where owners are not focusing on this? Is it kind of a thing like you see that regularly where that's not being looked at or looked at the right way
I don't see it.
with people that come to you that you talk to?
For the most part, I mean, they're not coming to me and going, "Hey, I'm ignoring my numbers. I'm not cash flowing." They and if they do, Ewan, then it's actually I've never had anybody come to me and say, "Hey, I'm
Mm,
ignoring my numbers," um, they've got a kind of a pulse on their cash flow or their balance sheet or their P&L. It's going to be more of a coming from a place of micro stuff like what do I charge my customers or uh, just what they think they're coming to me for. It's something else that pops up in the light. Does
yeah,
that make sense? So
yeah.
I've never had
No, no,
anybody
it does.
say ignoring your numbers. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, no, no, that answered it perfect.
Yeah. So just overall, I would say, I mean, coachees that come to me, typically come for one or two, if not three or different reasons. But business owners that I've worked with in the past, or that I've gotten to network with and have grown in the last 10 years, and especially businesses that have gone on a business, or ignoring their numbers. And this could come from a place of I've had conversations with coachees in the past as well because they've asked me about like profit first, which is
Mm,
okay, cool. Hey, you can make $100,000 a month and be this and be a $1 million a year company, but what's the goal of what do you want your business to stand for and where are you going? What direction are you going? What do you want it to do for you? 9 times out of 10, that's where they don't know. They don't know what they want the business to do for them. And then on the flip side on the two-part thing that I've also learned is that, well, what do you want your profit margins to be? What do you want your salary to be? What do you want the business to pay for you? And that's where there's mucky gray, and that's where there's
mm,
confusion because it's ignored. It's swept underneath the rug. It's not stared down, and they're not looking at the percentages of what they want to pay themselves or what they want their profit. That's typically what I experience.
yeah, yeah. I think I know for you when you dig into this, it's like the funnest part because
Oh,
you
dude,
have
it's my jam,
control
dude.
over it.
Yeah,
And I think that's what people might be. They maybe avoid that because they don't want to know maybe the bad news. But that's the polar opposite. That's how more bad news shows up, and eventually businesses go out because they didn't focus on it. But if you could turn that into once you get a handle on it, maybe it is bad news, and once they focus on it, now they can take action. Now they get it tweaked the right direction, and then it's something you could ultimately love, like you do. I know you get giddy when it's time to look at the numbers because that's the lifeblood of the business.
for sure. Well, yeah, absolutely. You're building something. You're providing a service. You're providing a product. You're putting in all this time, energy, and effort, and it's just a scorecard. So why would you ignore your numbers? As a business owner, that's the lifeblood of your business. It's just a recipe for disaster if you're
Mm,
ignoring it.
yeah.
And so where is the money being allocated? What percentage are you paying yourself, and what percentage are you allocating towards these different areas of the business, employees, payroll? And so if you ignore these and sweep these underneath the rug, then then you better bring on a partner, or better find out real quickly, because it's just a ticking time bomb before you're going to be exhausted, or pick your head up in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever that time frame is, and goes, oh my gosh, I'm not making any money. And I remember talking early in the coaching career, like this was probably about 18 months ago. I talked to this lady. She owned an HVAC company. She called me up. I said, asked her some questions, and it was her and her husband. They ran the HVAC company for multiple years, successful. I said, well, okay, we'll make it successful. And she broke everything down. And then she ended up telling me that they were trying to sell it, but they weren't profitable. And then I started asking her a little bit more about her numbers, balance sheet, profits and losses, and assets and stuff like this. And to a certain degree, they were not profitable because they
Mm,
had been. It's from my understanding, they had been ignoring it for several months, if not years. Right? They were just basically just showing up, doing the work, taking the calls, going out and doing the work, and they weren't
mm,
looking at the numbers to make sure that they were staying on the gas, profitable, and making sure they're keeping their expenses low. And and they got to a point where they were basically just wanting to give the business away, Ewan,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they had ignored their numbers all the time. So looking at things at 30,000 feet, if the goal is to sell the business, if the goal is to be profitable and a cash flowing business, then you want to, in my mind, in my opinion, like you want to make sure you have a pulse on that. And so the solution is you said it earlier, I get intimate with the numbers.
Mm.
I'm not a financial guru. I'm not an advisor. I'm not an expert, but I understand where my money is coming from and where it's going. And
Yeah.
so if you don't have the knowledge, then to me, the way I look at it is then you're going through life aimlessly. Your business is going through and you're flying blind.
Mm.
And, so you can say, well, I'm not a good financial guru. I'm going to, trust that we're doing X amount, then, or whatever the excuse may be. I look at it as like, okay, maybe you struggle in that area and that's okay, but you don't want to ignore it. So you need to do something about it. So investing in a good accounting software, maybe you need to hire a bookkeeper, hire somebody
Mm.
part-time bookkeeper that you can pay him X amount to manage your books, to manage your cash flow, because now you have a weekly meeting with that bookkeeper on a monthly basis. And they're saying, hey, you're in the negative, you're negative $2,000 this month. Or you're negative $10,000 this month. We need to turn that around. You wait for 6 months and you're in the negatives, then it's too late at that point.
Do you
And
remember what
so
happened to that business?
what's
Did
that?
did they make it? Did they get out of it, or do you know whether it's still
I
going? Or
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't end up coaching her because we just weren't a
mm.
good fit. Yeah, I don't know. I
Mm.
don't ended up know what happened. But if you're calling for help, from my experience, and the people that are like it, and you've ignored your numbers and you're ready to throw in the towel, it's like you said earlier in the episode. What percentage of businesses make it? 9 times out of 10, it's already too late because
Yeah.
they're trying to reach out for help, but they to turn things around. It's like a teach an old dog new tricks. A lot of people aren't
Yeah.
willing to learn, and that's how this lady was. She was not willing to make an adjustment or make a pivot, drop the pride, drop the ego, and learn these different things, or hire somebody to come in. Like I'm saying, like as far as the solution to come in
Yeah.
and change things.
Man, that sounds like the epitome of, well, that's why businesses don't last. Like
Yeah,
from hearing that, if I'm a doctor and I've got a patient and that's the kind of shape they're in and they're not willing to take the medicine and receive help,
yeah,
that they're going to die, right? That business will die off. It's not going to last. And we just had the last episode with Joe Cohen talking about genetic blood work biomarkers. And if you don't know what's going on with your body from the very individual specific results related to you, the individual, if you don't know what those are, like you're just shooting in the wind, right? Like
yep,
you're never going to know what's working, what's not working. And this is no different at all. You really got to see what is your business's genetic biomarkers,
yeah,
what's going wrong, like what do you need to supplement with, right? Like as if there's
yeah,
a cash flow problem, maybe there's a system breakdown, maybe
yep,
there's some form of revenue that's not being picked up, but it has you analyze it to, yeah, okay, it is a bad situation. Well, this is just data to help us know what we need to do next, but you have to be willing to receive it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, wrapping things up. So just to kind of cover these real briefly, take care of your team, stay innovative, keep a close eye on your numbers, and you'll give your business a fighting chance. You'll be here. My goal has always been to outlast my competitors, right? Because I know I can't control what they're doing, and I don't focus my time, energy, and effort on them. Instead, I want to be intentional about focusing on staying innovative and keeping a close eye on the numbers, and then taking care of my team. So if I can be intentional about doing that and not focus on what my competitors are doing, or what's going on over there, then I know that this is going to be an endurance and I'm going to have a fighting chance.
Yeah.
Now, if you ignore these things, it's only a matter of time before the walls start closing in. Your walls may already be closing in, and there's hope. And so we would love to help you out here at Level Up and Live. You can always text us, and we do free strategy calls at 936-788-4295. It's not just about surviving in business. And I feel like so many business owners are just about surviving, especially this day and age. It's about freaking thriving. And so don't wait for an emergency. Start making these changes today, and you'll not only save your business, but you'll also see a setup where you will set it up for success in the long run and in the future.
Beautiful. Beautifully said.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for listening to this. Make sure you like and subscribe. Pay it forward. Sharing is caring. Share with an entrepreneur, sales folks. And this is how we grow. We are growing organically. So share this message with somebody that needs to hear this. Make sure you leave us a review on what you liked about the show, because that also helps the algorithm as well. We greatly appreciate you. Outside of that, level up and live.
Level up and live.